Okay. All right. So testing one, two. Hippie, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. I can hear you nice and clearly. Well,
Good.
listen. Well, I just wanted to reach out to you because we got this show called we're doing called Soulful House Nation, which is a radio show. We also got the website and got all that stuff going. But you were one of the people that I had to get a hold of because you've been around since the beginning of this whole thing. If I said once upon a time, you would be there in this whole Soulful House thing. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to just maybe get started, just to tell us a little bit about you, and we're going to kind of take it from there.
Okay. I guess we could start at the beginning. I guess. I started DJing in the '70s, and then around '79, '80, I got my first remixing project. I did it with my co-partner George Rodriguez, director of the Garden State Record Pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it with him. It was a Born to Be Wild was the song and stuff. It was on Quality Records out of Canada.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. And then later on that jumped us over to Ray Caviano, who was doing stuff with Quality Records. Let us do his remix for Jimmy Ross, Fall Into a Trance.
Well, okay.
And then once we did that, once I did that for a while, I got into, I did the Clark Sisters remix. Around 88, friend of mine that owns a record shop in Newark called Music Village said, you know what, you've been doing this for a while. Why don't you try and, produce a record or something? So I decided to try my hand at it, and I borrowed some equipment, and I wrote a song called "You're Gonna Miss Me" by the Turntable Orchestra.
Okay.
And that was back in '88. Now, up until that time, all I really had done is basically DJ in clubs, and do some remix work. I haven't really done anything outside of that. When I did that record, I did it. I wrote the song for someone else to sing it, but we really couldn't find nobody at the time, and the store owner told me, you know what, we'll just keep your vocals on it, because I just done demo vocals for it. And we said, all right, so we did it, and we put it out, and it did okay. It did, sold about, I would say about 5,000 copies here in the U.S. I mean, it wasn't a lot, you know what I mean, but it was all right. It was an independent label, so it was all right. But what we didn't know was that the record was blowing up in Europe.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was like in England, it was like up there and, at the top of the charts. In Germany and France and Spain, all over Europe, it was huge. So I didn't find this out until Dave Lee, which is Joey Nago, the same person.
Okay.
Reached out to me. He had a record label called Republic out there in the UK, and they wanted to license a song for us. So they did. They blew it up. I went out there. From that point, I got to travel internationally, and they brought me out there in the end of '88, in early '89, and I toured all over Europe with the song and stuff. And then after that, I just started, doing music. I started actually going more towards writing songs and stuff like that. And I hooked up with my partner in the early '90s, Mark Mendoza. So me and Mark did stuff under Mentor Productions for his last name Mendoza and my last name Torrales, so it was Mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what it was. And and we did some stuff. We started doing some stuff, and nothing really big happened until we happened to run into Rosie Gaines. Motown Records wanted a remix for a song she did called "I Want You," and we did. Actually, a friend of mine, Eddie Maduro, got the acapella and the masters from them, and he was going to do a mix on it. And he used to come to my studio to do the mixes. I had my little studio at the house, so we would do the mixes out of there. But he never came, and it was getting close to deadline to when they wanted the mixes. So my wife at the time suggested, well, why don't you and Mark do a mix? You know what I mean? And submit it. So we did a mix. and then I gave it to Eddie to submit, and he said, "Oh, wait a minute, but I was supposed to do a mix." So what he did was he said, "Okay, I'll submit your mix, but I got to finish mine." So he got together with George Mina, and they did a mix also. So then they submitted all the songs to Motown. Mm-hmm. So they loved his mix, and they were going to put it out. My mix and Mark's, Rosie cried. She did not like it at all. She thought it was
Oh, wow. Wow.
So she didn't like it at all, and, they didn't want to put it out, but, Eddie convinced them. He said, they did the mix all they want. They don't want any money. They just want credit for it, basically. Just give them some credit for it. So they said, all right, so we'll put it on the 12-inch. So they did a 12-inch in the U.S., and, one side had our names on it and stuff. But it turned out it wasn't our mix. It was actually another mix that Eddie had done with George. So our mix never came out as the American version of the record. Never.
Wow.
But I gave it to David Camacho. David Camacho goes to England, and he turns on Paul Trouble Anderson to it. Okay. And Paul Trouble was playing on Kiss Radio, which was a pirate radio station at the time. And he just blew the song up over there.
Wow.
It became huge over there. So what happened was, at that point, Motown London got hold of it. Oh, we've got to put this mix out. So then at that point, they had to pay us. So in the end, we got paid finally for the record. It went out. It boosted Rosie's career. Then after that, we did Closer Than Close, which just blew her up and put her in the top 5 pop charts in England, and sold over 8 million units for her. So it was a big record for her. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So that's basically where I started and where I've come in the last, I guess, 40 some odd years.
Well, now that's on the production side, but you started out as a DJ, and I know because you were in Zanzibar and you cost me about $250 trying to, aside from the admission and whatever I spent that night on drinks and stuff, trying to do what you were doing in Zanzibar. Can you tell us a little bit about your Zanzibar experience and some of the places that you DJ'd?
Yeah. So when I started DJing, I was in Newark. I lived in Newark, and I started in the early '70s, and then around '76, my partner Nelson Buchinieres and me we opened up a club called Doc's. So Doc's was ended up being the premier club for Newark, for Jersey, for the sort of crowd that went to Loft, Paradise Garage, Better Days, that kind of audience. In Jersey, we were the club for that kind of audience. We ended up being that, So that ended up started giving me a sort of reputation in Newark. And I ended up working at Abe's, which was the bar downstairs, the club disco downstairs at the Lincoln Motel, which is where Zanzibar was at. The Zanzibar wasn't yet built. So I ended up working at Abe's. Once I was working there, then the owner, Gerald T., which was the house jack at the time, had mentioned to the owner about maybe taking us upstairs ballroom and just, make it a club, make more money. So he took the idea, he thought about it, and then Richard Long, which was the sound engineer for him, told him, I'm going to take you to a club in New York so you can get an idea for it. So he took him to the Paradise Garage, and Miles, the owner of the club, just loved it. He wanted to bring it to Jersey. He said, I just went to the best club. I want to bring this to Jersey. So he went all out. They spent a lot of money. They got Richard Long to do the sound system, and they got the light show was unbelievable. They did it right. So in August 29th, 1979, that Friday, Zanzibar opened up. I was the opening night DJ there at the Zanzibar at the club, and Zanzibar became the premier club in Jersey. Without a doubt. Had the best sound system, the best light show, the best acts. We had everybody from, Chaka Khan, Grace Jones, 2 Tons of Fun, the Whispers live with the band, Eddie Kendricks live with his band. I mean, we really had amazing acts there. Yep.
Wow.
Sylvester, all kinds of people. Yep.
Wow. We know
And yeah.
Zanzibar, I mean, to this day, people talk about Zanzibar with the same energy that they talk about the Paradise Garage. Let's say you people from Jersey, they talk about it with the same energy. Matter of fact, I was on the phone today with another DJ. Last night with another DJ by the name of Marion Dees, who we're going to be interviewing, and that's how he got hooked on house music, was going to Zanzibar. That system took over his body, and I remember that system was unbelievable. I mean, whew. Now so fast forward, and let's say you're doing Zanzibar. So at some point you leave there, and then are you doing other clubs, or what are you doing at that point?
Yeah, once I left, I was in Zanzibar about a year and a half there. Once I left there, I was sort of floating around doing independent clubs, but then they decided the owners of Zanzibar also owned a club in East Orange called 88. So they wanted
Club
to
88?
Yeah,
okay.
They wanted to do the same thing. So they had the downstairs, but they wanted to make it upstairs. The owner, Bruce, Miles' brother, was in charge of Club 88. He wanted to make they wanted to make a more nicer club upstairs. So I opened that club also for them. That was open. So I was the opening DJ for their club also. So I opened up a lot of clubs in Jersey, from Docks to Zanzibar to 88. I did that for a while, after Zanzibar. And then I ended up going down to the shore, to the Jersey Shore. Because Mike McKnight, a good friend of mine,
sure.
an excellent, was an excellent DJ. He was an excellent DJ. And he just passed recently, a couple of years ago. But Mike McKnight had talked to the club owners down the shore, and he brought me down there. He took me down there, and they heard me. They loved it. So I ended up playing down the shore for a couple of years. I ended up playing down the shore. And then after I left the shore, I came back up north, and I was playing at,
let me just do just one little thing here. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike McKnight. I remember Mike McKnight. Mike McKnight goes back to Dukes. Now, he used to play at Dukes back in the day in East Orange. It was on Central Avenue. Now, then Mike later played at another place when I called back up with him again, at a place called El Bacone. It was in Elizabeth. And he was the first guy that I can remember that could mix 3 turntables at a time, never missed a beat. I never heard him miss. I never heard him miss. You're another one. I've never heard you miss. I've never heard you miss.
He was like him when he also played at a club called Brothers 3. That's what really brought him a lot of attention. And Mingle, there was another club called Mingle.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was the same. I believe it was the same club. They just changed the name on it. But Mike was amazing as a DJ. He was amazing. He was the first DJ I know of. I mean, there may be other ones, but the first DJ that I know of in Jersey that had a residency outside of the United States. Every summer he used to play in Acapulco at Baby O's.
Oh, wow.
Every summer he would go to Acapulco to play at Baby O's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. My buddy and I used to set up sound for him. Unfortunately, Mike passed away, I'd say about 3 or 4 years ago. He was living in North Carolina, and he was playing down there. And then, but I had another buddy, Bobby J., who used to do sound for him on a regular basis, and we would go help set up the sound for him. And I would hear him play, and like I said, I mean, the guy was incredible, God bless the dead, So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I just had a Mike McKnight moment when you said that.
That's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. Now, this is what I want to ask you too. Like, let's compare the music. You've been in the beginning when even before this whole house thing existed, and maybe it was R&B, maybe what they saw, whatever. So now there was house music back then. Let's say in the early '80s, it started to connect, and then at one point, I think even Frank Sinatra had a house mix. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but certainly Ethel Merman or whatever, a disco mix, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think of the house music of today versus back then? Do you have?
Well, I think in general, a lot of the styles have really become a lot more. I don't know if I could say. I don't know if it's more simplified, but somewhat. I mean, the quality of writing, you know what I mean, has somewhat, to me, diminished. You know, and a lot of the music nowadays. You know, a lot of music that I get now that's supposed to be house music is basically just tracks. That's it.
Right.
Now, when you talk about soulful house, they still write songs. There's a lot of good writers and a lot of artists that still write great songs to house music. Okay? But in general, the stuff that sells is under the flagship of EDM or techno or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Or unless it's really, really commercial, you know, music that they just put a house beat to, basically. You know?
Right.
That kind of thing. So I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like any style. I think in the early days of house, when people were first beginning to know how to make it, it was raw. And when it's raw, it has a certain appeal to it.
Right.
Okay? But then what happened was around the 90s, I would say, once it really became really in, then you get the real producers that have produced other styles and are experimenting with house. But what they bring with them is quality work. Because they know how to produce a good song, they just don't know how to do it in the house style. But then they get in and they start producing good songs. So that's what happened once we got past the rawness of it. Just like any art form, you know, once you get past the rawness, then you get the people that can actually sort of contribute to it. But now we're at a stage where it's just the independence of anyone being able to have a studio in their house or, you know, on their phone if they want to. Everybody thinks they can do any kind of music. And every music, to me, has suffered in a way, you know, whether it be hip-hop, R&B, house, doesn't matter what it is. You know, it has all suffered in a way because now everybody believes they're an artist or a producer, you know what I mean, or anything like that. But the only problem is nobody wants, especially I think these younger generations, they don't want to put in the time to learn the art form or even learn how to play an instrument. You know what I mean? It's all just, look, I have this idea and I'm just going to do it and that's it, you know, and they'll sample something or they take, you know, an old record and just not even, they'll do it blatantly. They don't even change it. You know, they'll just take the same record and just, you know, loop it, and then they'll say, yeah, it's my song. You know, they'll take credit for it. So I think in that way, it's sort of, you know, we're going through a phase of a loss in quality, the level of quality.
Wow.
But there's still, like I said, there's still good music out there. It's just, it's not in the forefront. You know what I mean? That's not what's really in the forefront right now.
Why does, in your estimation, Soulful House, which is the foundation, the father, the mother, whatever you want to call it, it's the original house music. Why is Soulful House, in my estimation, and I just want to get your opinion on it, it's in the corner in the back in the dark, do 3 flips, you got to sneak under the gate, under gunfire, give the secret password, and that's the first phase of it. I mean, why is it, it's like hidden in plain sight. I mean, I would like to be riding down the street in the daytime and turn on the radio and hear a Soulful House song just as common as you would hear a hip hop, an R&B, a rock and roll.
Right.
Why? I mean, what's up with that from your perspective?
Well, I think quality. And I've noticed this. I think once something reaches a certain level of quality, and in good Soulful House, it has its quality. I think it becomes like any art form. It sort of it loses its mass appeal. It's sort of like jazz. You know what I mean? Jazz got to the point that it was a high quality, and at one point it was on top of its game. You know, it was what it was. Now jazz is sort of the kind of thing that you have to have a mature taste for it. You know, it's not the kind of thing, you know, a kid or, you know, a certain audience will go for it. But if you're into jazz and you know good music and you find the right quality jazz for yourself, you're into that. It's the same to me with house, unfortunately. It is high quality soulful house that's done well. It's just not what the kids are into at the moment or what radio or any of that stuff is into. But I do believe what helps that more than anything is bringing in new young artists that kids can relate to. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of that. That we don't have a lot of.
Right,
you know, when it comes to house, soulful house or anything like that, most of our audiences are much more mature.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I believe that affects your audience, you know what I mean? Because, you know, young people want to see young people. You know, that's just a reality, you know. So for us to capture, whether it be a young audience or, you know, a younger audience, I think we have to find new artists and want them to have a passion to do soulful house, you know, and have that passion for it.
Right.
And that takes us nurturing them. It really takes us nurturing them. You know, it really does, you know.
Right. You know, I'm like, my vision for soulful house, again, is to have it mainstream, not to give up its flavor, its spiciness in terms of the sound and make it commercial, but have it again, just have it mainstream. In other words, again, I want to ride down the street. It's 2:00 in the afternoon, and turn on the radio, and a soulful house song comes on. That's you know, I think, you know, you're right about that whole getting younger people involved. That's a little tricky. Now, I know of one guy, I'm sure you've heard of him, up this way, DJ Amir, who's been doing his thing in the Essex County area. And he's sort of like the soulful house phenom. How do you get more Amirs to the table? What's your thinking on that? I mean, the person
we are. What's happening is there are young people. They're just not a lot of, but there are young people that are coming up. I mean, we have some really young kids in Newark now. I mean, one started at 9, the other one was 12. I mean, and they were like, and they were brought onto the scene, and you know, now they're probably about 15, I would say the most. But you know, it's far and few, you know, the people like that, you know, or what were the other two? Were they the Menendez brothers? Or them, or the two brothers? What do you call it?
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's Menendez. I forgot.
I know you're talking about. They're out of New York.
Not what Martinez. I'm not
Martinez
sure.
brothers.
Like that.
Martinez brothers.
I mean, they were young. They were young, you know what I mean? And they were brought in through the house scene, you know what I mean? Through the soulful house scene, they were brought in, you know what I mean? And they just, you know, their dad took them. They started in that scene, but their dad took them and said, you know, we're going to blow up. We're going to go towards the EDM market, you know. And he's blown, you know, to his credit, he's blown them up, you know what I mean? And made them international and take them to the next level. But the point is, we have to get people young. And we can do it. It's just a matter of and putting that passion into them. And it really takes, you know, the people that love a certain kind of music, that soulful house or whatever, is turning on, whether it be their kids or their grandchildren. You know what I mean? Make it, you know, just like us. You know, we grew up and our parents would play, you know, Motown or whatever. My family would play salsa. You know, I grew to enjoy that because it's something they played. You know what I mean? And in turn, even though it was from a generation earlier than mine, I grew to appreciate it. You know, and we have to do that. And unfortunately, I don't think we do that enough when it comes to that audience. I don't see parents now playing soulful house for their children, but I think we need to if we want to get the next generation into it.
Right. Well, I could tell you, my daughter is no fan, and that's because that's pretty much not what her group is listening to. But I've been able to inject some things in here. It's a funny thing about you keep doing it. Eventually, they'll find one that they like. You say, okay, well, I can work with this one. Then maybe you'll find another one, and then another one, and then now, the other thing too, if you talk about younger people, not since K-Wise, have you heard any like really clubbish songs? Which I remember them, and then they did the song Stomp, where they had some sort of rap in it. And I don't know, do you think that's a possibility? Putting a hip hop verse or something in some of this stuff. Do you think that will make a difference?
Well, we had artists that did that, and it did make a difference, like Doug Lazy and stuff like that. You know, did use house. You know what I mean? And and put some hip hop into it. I think it would help. But one thing I learned a long time ago, and I don't understand why we didn't catch on to this earlier. We should have. Is when house was just beginning to really take off. We the house producers of the time, all of us involved in the scene, made a mortal sin by selling our soul to the devil. Because what happened was the major labels that had no idea what house was, once they started catching on, said, you know what? We got to start getting into this, just like disco. That's why you heard, all the disco come from, from every rock band or anything you can think of in the 70s, because they all wanted to jump on the bandwagon.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, we did the same thing with house. When the label said, you know what, this beginning to seem this the music for the younger generation, we need to jump on it. So what they did was they said, okay, we don't want to sign no house artists, but we do want you to take our pop artists and do house mixes for them. Right. And what did we do? We jumped on it like it was, forget about it, and we did it, we took everybody that was, some either pop star, whether it's Janet Jackson or, you know what I mean, or Madonna or anybody else, you know what I mean, and we just made house mixes of all their songs, basically, any artist. And when we did that, we ended up making it difficult for labels, for artists that were real house artists, to get signed to label, because the label said, we don't need to sign any of these house acts. We can just have house producers do the mixes for us, for our artists. Right. And when we did that, that's when we ended up losing credibility for our own style of music. We just, we sold out. Everybody did it for the money, sold out and said, you know what, there's money to be made. I'm going to make money, and that's it. But I honestly believe that it affected all of the house scene.
I never thought about that. It's true, because then what happened is that you didn't need to take our rising stars and put them in there, for example. Yeah,
exactly. And not only that, I always point out, we were ready to jump on any act that wanted to have a house song. Any act, I don't care what it was. Producers and remixers at that time were fighting each other to do the mix on it. Whether it's the Beyonce or whether any artist that it is that wanted to have a house mix, they would jump on it. But I always used to turn around and say, now let me ask you a question. How many producers of pop records do you see wanting to do house mixes on our artists? Not one. Not one of them would turn around. Not one hip-hop producer would turn around and do a mix with a house artist. None of them. But yet we lowered ourselves to the level of saying, well, we'll take anything you throw in that way, anything.
Wow. And like I say, I never even thought about that. Wow. And that makes so much sense. That was just sort of like a funny move when we really should have said, okay, if you want the house mixes, you have to bring our artists along for the ride. The ones who really sang this stuff. Very interesting. Very interesting. Where do you see Soulful House going? What's the next step from your point of view?
Like I said, I think it'll still be here for a while, but I really believe at this point, unless we get a younger audience to really get into it, it's like the equivalent of jazz. You know what I mean? Jazz is a great style, it's a great music, but there's a unique niche audience for that. The same thing with Soulful House. I believe there's a unique niche audience for that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty big audience, because right now in South Africa, Soulful House rules. It rules. They play it on the radio. Soulful House is pop in South Africa.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So yeah, there's a big audience out there for it. We just got to learn to keep it, you know what I mean, and nurture it.
Right, right. Well, it seemed like traditionally we've come up with something in the United States. It has to go to Europe, then it comes back, and they can resell it to us for whatever
Exactly.
reason.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Um, well, we're getting down to the wire. I know you do some mixes, Simon. Tell us a little bit about your mixes and what you're doing at this point and what you're working on and what direction you're going.
Right. Well, I still do my radio show, cyberjam.com, on Tuesday mornings from 10 to 12 till lunchtime. I do a 2-hour show every Tuesday. Although now, from this point on, we'll be on our Christmas hiatus. We won't be doing anything till January 7th. We'll start again. But I do that. I still am writing music and producing. And also, I'm working on some other projects. I have some apps I'm working on, and I'm trying to bring other things to market. So I'm still very busy, still doing what it is I do. And I also I work for the library system here in Columbia, South Carolina now. So what we've done, they hired me because the library I work for, the Richland County Library, they have a recording studio in our library. So I'm in charge of the recording studio. Wow. I'm in charge of the recording studio, at our library.
That's right up your alley then.
It's exactly up my alley. Exactly.
Well, speaking of Columbia, my whole family is from Columbia. My sisters and most of my family's there. They're around about Bluff Road. That's where they started. Hopkins, Madison, Columbia. Yeah, all over that area. Now, I know you got a lot of things coming. Are there any? Just want to see, just from your perspective, are there any songs, artists, or anything like that you like, or anybody that you would consider a good DJ? Now, that doesn't have to be all inclusive, but if there are anyone that you would consider like great DJs that maybe you want to play one night with. Because now in the old days, you would go from 9 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning, whatever. But now it's 2-hour sets. So,
exactly.
Is there anybody that you would like to play with at this point, or you say, "Oh, boy,
well,
I got a lot of stuff."
The only I've always recently what I really wanted to do is like we have England and France, and New York, and I guess me from Jersey. We're considered like, because I've been doing this for some time. We play the classic sets a lot of times. That's what they hired me a lot of times for in Jersey to do. But I've really been thinking of doing. I would love to do a thing with Joey Negro, Dimitri from Paris, Danny Critter from New York, and myself, just doing a classic party, all four of us just doing our thing together. That to me would be like an ultimate kind of party.
Wow. Wow. You're talking straight heavy hitters. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And and everybody bringing their weapons,
Speaking of weapons and classics, now this is my next to the last question. How about that? You said when I start talking to you, hippie, I don't want to get off the phone. But anyway, now a lot of DJs have not accepted. I think there's more and more. They're saying, okay, we used to use vinyl, and now some of them have jumped to CDs. But it seems like the Soulful House guys have been the last to convert to new technology. Where are you in terms of your feelings, in terms of vinyl versus CDs versus laptops versus controllers, CD days, and flash drives? Where are you with all this?
Well, I think to me, all of them are just a tool of the trade. And whatever one works for you, you can use. I mean, me, I'm on a controller, so I can use a controller now. But, I mean, somebody may see me and go, oh, that guy's not a DJ. But if you know my history and if you can go back far enough, you'll realize that guy started when it was, with turntables, and he moved up through all the spaces from turntables to CD to a USB stick, all of that stuff. So, I mean, to me, it's almost like, saying, yeah, okay, I'm a keyboard player, and you started back when it was just a piano or an organ you could play, and now you've got all these keyboards with all these amazing things that they can do, which just expands your possibilities, basically. That's all it really does. To me, that's what's happened in this progression. They're all tools, and, some of the newer ones expand your possibility to be able to do even more with your DJing technique. But if you're comfortable and if you love using vinyl, that's no problem. And the thing about it for me, I've been told, sometimes when people say, okay, we want to do a vinyl party. I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. I can do it, but it's going to cost you more than if I use my controller, I'll tell you right now. And if I got to go searching through my records and pull out dusty records, dust them off and carry that weight with me, it's going to cost you more.
Listen, I'll tell you what. I have records I've been playing for years myself. I need to tell you, the only way I'll pull out records and CDs if we have a nostalgia night, but I got to tell you something. As soon as that night is over, that stuff's going back where it came from. Those days are over for me. Next question I had is with the music and stuff the way it is, and I'm going to give you a magic wand right now, okay? And I'll give you up to 3 wishes. You don't have to use all 3 of them if you don't want. Maybe use 1 or 2 of them. Whatever, it's your call. What would you do as far as this thing goes? What would you do if you had 3 wishes? I'll give you a magic
As far
wand.
as what? As the music scene or the house music?
The soulful house music scene. What would you do?
I would try to, if I have wishes, I would wish, first of all, that we can find, a couple of 100 new artists, young new artists, to be able to expand to the younger crowds. I would probably try to set up an avenue of our own so we can get actual radio play on radio. Rather than just waiting for pop radio to say, okay, no, that's not our style of music, can't play that. Have our own radio stations, available in the same markets as the markets that are available now for pop radio. I would probably do something like that. And actually also, try to bring the whole, I guess the image, make it a little more funkier and up to date, and so then younger people would want to get into it. Whether we create some iconic thing that we can use for soulful house music that is very catchy, and anywhere they see it, oh, that's a soulful house, kind of thing. Whether it be a soulful house party, that's a soulful house, a record, anything, creating something iconic that they can, go to, just like Apple, something you see Apple, regardless of what the product does, that's an Apple product, you know what I mean? Something like that, something that we can create iconically that, will transcend all generations, and anybody that sees it knows right away that's a soulful house kind of thing.
Well, I tell you what, I just introduced a clothing line that I'm hoping to do that, but I also, too, have a logo that I'm hoping that will catch on. We have a website called www.soulfulhousenation.com, which we just got that up and running within the last 30 days, give or take. And we're starting to populate it, and we're going to start to populate it, and we'll have the interviews. I just got hired as a social media person to kind of work with me on that, to do that. And also, I just was at a fashion show this weekend with John Blassingame, December 2nd and 3rd. I was there. It was actually, and we introduced a line of fashion based on Soulful House. But I'll be posting the videos on that also. So, last question, is there anything that we didn't cover that you think we should know about or be aware of, or something that you have coming up or something like that?
I think we covered most of it. The only thing I would probably, I'm doing right now, something I'm tapping on is I'm doing research, because I honestly think DJing goes back way further than what our current books on DJing describe. See, because to me, my idea of a DJ, this is my definition of a DJ. A DJ is anyone who gets paid to play recorded music for someone.
Okay.
Okay? That's my definition. So if you're playing recorded music and they're paying you for that, you're a DJ.
Okay.
Okay? So with that definition in mind, I've gone back and done the research, and the first DJs were in the 1880s when they first made the phonograph.
Oh, really?
Yes, because what happened was in the early days, people couldn't afford phonographs. The Edison Company didn't sell phonographs. They licensed them to business people that wanted to rent them yearly. They would pay yearly for it, right? And these people would go out to fairs and festivals or maybe even the street corners, and they would set up the phonograph, right? And attached to the phonograph, they would have like 10 little original, they were basically tubing that's supposed to be earphones. They had that as earphones. They would have 10 of them attached. And they would charge you a dime to play one of those original phonograph records for you to listen to.
Wow.
So that's your original DJ.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow. I guess it helps to be in the library, right? My goodness.
It does help to be in the library. Exactly. All right?
Wow.
So to me, those are the original DJs. You know, because it wasn't radio personalities. It wasn't, anything else but a guy in a corner or in a fair or in a festival with a phonograph and his records. He would pop them on, his phonograph records. He would have people pay him a dime, and you had to crank it by hand to keep it going. So it wasn't even like, he wasn't working. He was working. You crank it by hand, and you let them listen to it, and they pay you it, and they love it. And then you got the next round. You got 10 cents from everybody there, and you would do the same thing.
Wow. Well, I know you haven't. Wow, I didn't know that. Well, now, see, I had a last question, but this is my last question since you brought that up. Now, I know you haven't been around since the 1800s, but you've been in the game for 40 years, easy 40 years. Why have you been able to last when so many other guys have come and gone and shot their load? Why is hippie torrales still here? Why is hippie torrales still get called? Why is hippie torrales still relevant in 2017 after starting back in the 70s?
I think besides being lucky, very lucky.
Okay.
I also think it's because I think anybody that does anything with a passion and a true love will be successful at it, and you can have a long career. And if you don't have that, I don't care how good you are at it, you will not have a long career, because you have to love something to the point that you're willing to give it all. And to me, that's what music was as a DJ. I mean, that was my passion. I eat, live, and breathe DJing as an artist made for music, or an actor with acting. That is my passion. That's what I was. That's what I would do if I could every day for the rest of my life. And I think because of that, because I have that love and passion for it, I think that's what's kept me at where I'm at. And it's also learning to adapt with the times. You have to learn, okay, you can be a DJ, but you have to sort of, how can I say, you have to, like anything else, you have to elevate yourself to the next level. So, you start as a DJ, and then you move on to maybe remixing, producing, everything else. You have to be able to do that. If you can't do that, then you're just stuck doing that one thing. And in reality, in any field right now, the way everything is, you have to be able to adapt and be able to do plenty of things on your job. You just can't do one thing. And I've just been lucky that everything I do is a passion I have for it. It's involved with my field, and because it's involved in my field, music, I have a passion for it.
Wow. Hey, listen, very few people can do it. You have a Madonna that can do it. You can have, you'll have like, let's see, who goes back? I mean, on the hip hop side.
You mean on the hip side? Oh, okay.
Hip hop. On the house, yeah. I'm just saying, in general, there's very few artists that can be in there that long and hang in there that long like you've done. like I say, you're talking about a Madonna, you're talking about maybe a Cher, you're talking about maybe the Temptations are still around, but just your ability.
My epitome, the act that has always endeared and was what I would say my standard as to what I would like to be like as far as quality and standard.
Okay.
Is Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett still around.
Oh, really? That's right.
Tony Bennett's still around.
That's my heart in San Francisco.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not only and he's still relevant.
Yes. Rags to Riches. A couple of years back, he did the duets, and he did one of the last songs with Amy Weinstein before she passed away.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Right. Wow, hippie. I mean, just really, 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 really great. If people want to contact you, one more time, if people want to contact you, how can they do it? Also, if people want to hear, I know you do the mixes and everything, and how can they hear it? So tell us all that contact information, how they can hear you. If anything come up you want to share, let us know that.
Well, absolutely, yeah. They can listen to me through Cyber Jam, but I also, if they go to Facebook / DJ Hippie Torrales, they can like my page, and I constantly, whatever I'm doing, whatever events, whatever's going on in my life, I usually put it up there as far as, anything that I'm doing. I think that's pretty much everything. They can contact me there. They can message me there. Other than that, I think we're good,
Okay.
They can listen to me at Cyber Jam. They can, they can contact me through Facebook.
Okay. All
right.
Wow. Well, hippie, thank you so much. We got it done. We got it done. We're going to be posting this very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, just want to again say thanks. My name is DJ Dan, and this is Soulful House Nation, the radio show. We're going to continue on. We're going to keep pushing this thing. One day, hippie, you're going to be riding down the street, and you're going to turn on like the equivalent of a Z100 or pop radio, and a Soulful House song is going to come on. You're going to go, wait a minute, what just happened? Anyway.
Yes, we're going to make that happen. Let's work to make that happen.
Absolutely. So
right,
listen, you have a great night. All right, take care now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye.